What is going on, people here? My name is Frank, and welcome to the first Cannon Talks podcast on the Cannon Talks YouTube channel. It sounds weird because it's the Cannon Talks podcast, but it hasn't been on Cannon Talks. It's been confusing, but we are where we need to be. I'm joined by my co-host, Yash Mahatma. Yash, what are you saying, bro?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good. Lockdown is being eased. I've been able to go for a walk without getting dirty looks, so that's fantastic. But what I'm most excited to talk about today is in T-minus 2 days, the Arsenal is back, right? The Arsenal is back. We get to see the famous, hopefully it's going to be the red and white. I mean, we're playing City, so there's not going to be no colour clash. So we're going to see the famous red and white again in the Premier League. Yash, how excited are you for the return of the Premier League?
I can't wait. It's been almost 3 months since the Premier League. See the Gunners play again back in action. Come on, man. Let's go.
Yeah,
it's been long enough.
I'm really looking forward to it, but what I'm not looking forward to is our opponents. Now, obviously, picking up where we left off, we had a game scheduled against Man City before lockdown kicked in and got cancelled, and that's where we're starting. So it's going to be Man City versus Arsenal at the Etihad. Yes, no fans, but we'll get into that in just a little while. Yash, we're going to be doing a little bit of an extended preview here. If you haven't seen it already, make sure to go and check out the preview I did on Cannon Talks, the first ever Cannon Talks video. The link will be down below and it will be at the end of the video also. But yeah, we had a little bit of a preview. Me and you are just going to talk about the game a little bit more, man. So obviously, Mikel Arteta comes head-to-head with his former mentor and boss, Pep Guardiola, for the first game post-lockdown. How interesting is this going to be for you, man?
It's going to be very interesting because Arteta left Arsenal to go join Pep's team. You know, he's going to know all about his tactics inside and out. And it looks like it's the young apprentice versus the master.
Do you know what Arteta's done? He's done what Fabregas should have done. Left Arsenal and came back to Arsenal. That's what Fabregas should have done, but we blame Wenger for that one because it wasn't Fabregas's fault. But listen, this is going to be a real test having to fend off the reigning Premier League champions after not having much competition in the friendlies. Now, I say that very loosely because we all know what happened in the friendlies. Yes, we battered Charlton 6-0, but Brentford, obviously losing 3-2 to a championship side isn't fantastic. But I think you understand what I mean when I say we had no real competition. It's a championship side. It's no Manchester City. But the question that I have is, if we're struggling to beat a championship side like Brentford, how are we going to fend off Man City?
I'm thinking the exact same thing. I mean, no disrespect to Brentford, but we've got to be taking these friendly games and we've got to be beating them confidently to go up against a team like Man City. Now, what I do know a little bit about the game is that I think around the 60th minute, we started playing our second team, our B team. Only one player played the full 90. And it was in that time that we conceded those 2 goals and we lost the game. But this is the thing. Man City, one of the best teams in Europe, one of the best teams in the world, mastered their 4-3-3 system. And it turns out Arteta was trying to teach the players that system during that Brentford game. So I'm thinking to myself here that if that's what's going on over there, we lost 2-1 to Brentford. What hope do we have of using that system against City?
Yeah, I understand what you mean, man. But the question that I have is, do you think it's a very smart idea testing new tactics when we've got our first game back is Manchester City? Do you think it's a smart idea to test tactics now?
I think it goes 50-50 because some people might say this game for Arsenal could be a must-win game if we want Europe. We've got to beat one of the big dogs somewhere. But at the same time, you only test what you can do and what you can't do against the very best in the business. At least you know how much you can do. If you can beat them, that's great. If you can't, you know where you're good and bad against the best.
Yeah, no, I understand what you mean, man. But what I want to talk about as well is, in a normal game, I think it's very obvious and it's painful to admit, but Man City, you've got to be giving them the advantage. However, the momentum factor does not tie in here. Obviously, neither team has played a competitive game since early March. And it's going to be all over the place, to be honest. I know you've seen the Bundesliga. There's been no real home advantage, because there's no fans. It has just been all over the place. And the question is, do you think the same is going to happen in the Premier League?
I think so, because a lot of teams rely upon the fans. If you think about the teams who have come up from the Championship, that home support is massive for them. So teams like Villa in their relegation fight, they're going to rely on their fans massively. Yeah. Teams like Arsenal, who we've mentioned on previous podcasts, where our away record hasn't been the greatest, shows that we rely on our fans too. So it's going to be very interesting to see how it plays out. We played City in a friendly, was it last year or the year before? And we beat them at their training ground. So it's a similar circumstance to that. But we never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean, man. And it's interesting that you talk about our away form, because I've got a stat here. Arsenal has not won against the Big Six team away from home since January 2015. Wow. That's pretty much 5.5 whole years without a win away to your Chelseas, your Liverpools. And that, I don't want to say this, but that's a small club mentality.
Nah, definitely. We're talking about one of the Big Six clubs here, one of the best in Europe. But in terms of how big it is, when you say that, Jesus, that is crazy. This could be the chance that we break that, because every time we go away, it's their home support that you could say carried them. If we think back to that Tottenham game where we was unlucky to not win and their penalty controversy that was going on, this could be the chance to beat them. But as we said again, City are on it at the moment. They've turned the corner just before lockdown, so it's going to be interesting to see.
Well, Yash, a few days ago, I actually spoke to a City fan and he said something very interesting. He actually stated that if City turn up, then Arsenal have absolutely no chance. First of all, do you agree with that? And second of all, how do you think we go against City? Do you know what I mean? Like, how are we going to counter City, if you get what I mean?
I think that could be the case for a lot of teams. City, though, when you say if they turn up, for a team like City or Liverpool, any big team now in Europe, even when they don't turn up, there's something there in that squad that's going to get them through it. Something that's going to grab it by the neck and just manage to scrummage its way over the line. So if they turn up, I think it's game over, especially if we're going to try and play a 4-3-3, a system we don't know against one they've done for 2-3 seasons now, but in terms of how we're going to set up against them, when I was watching those highlights, and I hate to mention this Brentford game again, but I did see that we had lines connecting box to box, and I can only think, combined with what we was playing, that 4-3-3, is that a few things that were going on was we was playing long balls up to Lacazette, who was our pivot, so we might be trying to pass over the press and then build up from there. Because there's one thing that City aren't the greatest at, is when you get at that back line, just those four, they can be vulnerable. That midfield and the strikers ahead of them is what keeps them together and keeps it hard to break down. But if we can get at their defence, Pepe, Ozil, Aubameyang, Lacazette, Martinelli, do I need to name more? We could pop in a few goals against them.
I understand what you mean there, Yash. And you mentioned a name there, Nicolas Pepe. You've got to be looking at him as one of our key players for this match, because, Man City ain't the strongest when it comes to that left-back position. Benjamin Mendy's not what everyone thought he was going to be. Zinchenko's not a natural left-back. When you look at Nicolas Pepe coming up on that side, it looks like he's going to have a field day.
Oh, I hope so. If it's anything like that Liverpool game at the start of the season, then we could be in for a treat. This is exactly what you say. These are the games where he needs to turn up. When you said that January 2015, there's not going to be any fans there to support him. Pepe could be in his element, running around rings around whoever they play at left back. But we've got to make sure he does something. I think Arteta's he's one of those managers who likes to get those big players involved. We saw Ozil get a goal now under Arteta too, so it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with Pepe.
Yeah, I know what you mean, man. Something must be happening if Mesut Ozil's scoring. But we move on. We're going to get into a little bit of team news now. I'm going to whiz through it really quickly. Lucas Torreira is back in full training after it looked likely that he would miss the rest of the season due to injury before lockdown. And then, of course, lockdown kicked in. So Lucas Torreira is back. As well as that, it looks like Kieran Tierney and Callum Chambers will both be available for selection after returning from long-term injuries. And that's absolutely fantastic. Callum Chambers, that injury was devastating. He was doing fantastically in replacement of Hector Bellerin. And then obviously Kieran Tierney's been semi-decent since he came in from Celtic, but he's not had a lot of time. So I'll be very interested to see how he does coming back into this Arsenal squad. But the question that I have for you, and we'll get into it in a little bit later with the lineup, Kieran Tierney or Bukayo Saka? That's the question I'm going to leave in your head just for now. Before we get onto that news, before we get onto the lineup, the last bit of team news that we need to clarify, and we discussed this in a previous podcast, William Saliba will be unavailable for selection until next season. Now, this has caused a little bit of confusion amongst the Arsenal fans, but me and Yash dissected it in the last podcast. So if you haven't watched that already, go and get yourself over there. It's too long to explain on this, so we're going to get straight into predicted lineups. Yash, you go ahead and start, man.
So the Brentford game doesn't give me confidence to play 4-3-3. So I've gone for 4-2-3-1.
Fair enough.
And
It's fairly similar though, isn't it? It's just a little bit more defensive.
It is to an extent, yeah. But I think those two holding midfielders is what's going to give a bit more cover to our defense, especially down the middle. But obviously, it's got to be Leno in goal. Distribution is key there. Now, when you say Saka and Tierney, I've gone for a little bit of a gamble here with the team selection. So I put Tierney at left back.
Oh wow!
Because I do think he can be one of those players who's definitely got the brutes about him to get in a tackle. He can cross the ball amazingly. He's got pace down that wing too. Next to him is David Luiz and then Mustafi, because they did build quite a good partnership just before play stopped at lockdown. On the right, it's Bellerin. Is Bellerin back from injury? He is, isn't he?
Bellerin's back. Back, yeah.
So on the right, it's Bellerin. Then the classic partnership, which we haven't really seen that much, but could make a return now that, as you said, Torreira is back, is Xhaka and Torreira as the two holding players. And now ahead of him, on the right, Pepe, the middle, Ozil, left attacking mid is Saka.
What? Okay, Yash. Dissect this one. I did not expect that.
So, as we know, Saka is naturally a left winger. We've seen his attacking qualities. If we remember the nutmeg against Newcastle to set up Pepe for his goal as well. You know, he's a natural left winger, great in attack. To have Tierney there behind him so that Saka can be free in attack on the left, because he has been used in his natural position during these two friendly games. In fact, a few people had said as well, there were reports that he was being played in the midfield. It's centre mid. So, to be playing higher up and have a bit more freedom could suit him. We don't know yet. But if you want to try and beat Pep, you're going to have to do something a little bit surprising at the same time. So I put Saka at left attacking mid. And up front, it's got to be the talisman, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang.
So no room for Lacazette?
I thought about it, and I just think when you've got a striker hungry for goals, who's on good form, Lacazette, as we said before, is on a bit of a roller coaster. Lacazette can be very good as a great impact sub in this game, to be able to hold up that play, get the wide players up as well, and just knock about with that defence a little bit whilst they're tired. That could be a game plan that Arteta deploys.
Yeah, I understand what you mean, man. And that. To be fair, I've got to give you credit. That's a very strong lineup. A few surprises in there, I won't lie, but I'm going to give my lineup now. As for a formation, I'm going to be true to the 4-3-3. I think it is our best formation. Yes, we didn't have the best of times against Brentford with it, but it's the formation that we know. So I think just play it safe, play what you know, and just stick to it. In goal, obviously it has to be Bernd Leno. Right back is Hector Bellerin. Centre backs, I've gone with Socrates and Shkodran Mustafi, purely because if David Luiz is going to be making mistakes like he did against Brentford, God knows what he's going to do against Manchester City, and I really don't think it's worth taking that risk. When we move into the left back spot even, Yash, I completely understand why you said Kieran Tierney, but I do not think it is the time to take Bukayo Saka out of that left back spot. He's been playing absolutely fantastic, and it's not just Arsenal fans that are saying it. He is being recognised worldwide, almost on the same level as Alphonso Davies, in the sense that he's not a natural left back. He's playing absolutely fantastic there. Yes, he's not on the same level as Alphonso Davies, but you get the gist of it. So I think just keep him where he's performing well right now. Don't do none of these silly experiments. Yes, I know he's a natural winger, but he's playing right. He's playing good, as a left back. So I'm saying keep him there. If he's not performing, bring Kieran Tierney on. We've got 5 subs now. So we've got room for manoeuvre, if you get what I mean. So obviously that being the defence, I'm going to go in the central mid roles. I'm going to agree with you. It has to be Lucas Torreira and Granit Xhaka. Would love to see Dani Ceballos get a run out at some point, but again, what you mean, I understand what you mean. It's the classic duo, Lucas Torreira and Granit Xhaka. Just ahead of them has to be Mesut Ozil, and we need a big game. I feel like I say this a lot, but we really do need a big game from Mesut Ozil. If he's not performing in this first half, then we've got to go back to half-time substitutions like what Unai Emery was doing, because we can't afford to have Mesut Ozil slacking for the entire game. Why not give the opportunity to Joe Willock? Why not give the opportunity to even give Gabriel Martinelli a go at Cam? Dani Ceballos should hopefully be on the bench. There's no room for slacking Mesut Ozil, so please get your game up. That's all I'm asking. And then the front three, I'm going to go for the default front three. On the right, Nicolas Pepe. On the left, Captain Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. And up top, Alexander Lacazette. Yash, score predictions, my friend.
For me, and it's not. I'm going to take a step back from being what's the word, optimistic. But I think it's going to be 3-2 to City. I do think there's going to be goals in this
Yes,
game.
man.
But I do think City are going to get it. And just a quick one.
Where's the optimism?
I'd love to be optimistic, but recently optimism hasn't been the best thing for me, and all the results have gone the wrong way. So, the quick question though I want to ask you is, when you was mentioning your lineup, you put Saka at left back and Aubameyang at left wing. Now, for a team like City that loves to pull apart players and tear the defence, could it be a very dangerous game for Saka in the sense it could really exploit his defensive abilities? And how much would Aubameyang track back to? When we do need him up front, how deep could he be playing?
I understand what you're saying, and it is a risk, because I understand what you're saying. Man City's attack force is absolutely deadly, but so far, Bukayo Saka has proved that he can defend, and if not, again, we've got the 5 subs. If we need to make an early sub, so be it. We're going to have options on the bench. And as for Aubameyang's work rate, whether he'll come back, you've only got to look at the last few games with Right. The way I put this is you've got to look, since Arteta came in, look at Aubameyang's work rate. He'd be playing up front in one game and tracking back to left back.
Yeah.
So that is what you call captain's work rate. And I don't think he'd have no problem filling in for Bukayo Saka if he's having a hard time. So for that very reason, that's why I think it will work.
Fair point.
Understand.
So yeah, no, definitely. As I said, I do think City's going to have the edge on us. I hate to say it because I do really want to see an Arsenal win. I'm not ruling it out. There could be surprises. I tell you what, the fact that there's no fans and the fact that we had a good run into lockdown, and yes, Brentford might have been a slip up, but there is a better chance than what we've seen recently with your 3-0s and losing the cup final against them too and being completely shredded apart. We do have a much better chance compared to those times too.
Yeah, I agree, man. And like you said, there's no fans in the stadium. And for that very reason, if this was a normal game, I'd have to agree with you, as painful it is to admit. In a normal game, Man City have got us. We're a few years off of them yet. So it would be a struggle for us. But that whole no real home advantage, should I say, is a massive factor. And for that very reason, I think that splits this game straight down the middle. I'm going to go Manchester City 2, Arsenal 2. And I think, I know, I understand. And I want to say a win, but it's Man City. Like, we just
So
can't.
is there a bit of a lacking in optimism there, Frank?
No, because there is a small lack of optimism, but I'm still, listen, if we can go away to the Etihad, regardless if there's home advantage for them, and get a point, we're laughing the whole way back on that coach from Manchester. Absolutely. Yeah. And then if we only get the draw against Man City, it comes down to the games next. Now, obviously, we're going to discuss that in the next few podcasts, but that's it for the game. In the comments down below, let us know what you reckon the score is going to be for this game. And also, how do you think it's going to play out? Let us know down below. Moving on now. This is now a very interesting topic. We've discussed him a lot in the previous podcasts. It is our captain. It is Mr. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. And it's another episode of the Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang contract saga. Now, the latest news is that Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang claims deciding to sign a new deal with Arsenal will likely be the most important decision of his career after confirming there has been no contract offer recently. Now, that is scary. We know Arsenal's history with player contracts. So when I hear Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang has not been offered a contract, I get worried. Of course, Aubameyang signed for Arsenal in January 2018, and in that time, he has scored 61 goals in 97 appearances. He's 3 games off of 100 goals, and who knows, if he signs that new contract, I just said 100 goals, didn't I?
100 goals,
three games off of 100 appearances, which is a phenomenal achievement at such a high level. And if he signs this contract, which I don't know if he will, he could go down in history as one of Arsenal's top goal scorers of all time. He's definitely one of the most prolific of all times when you look at goals to game. He's up there with the likes of Thierry Henry. He's up there with the likes of Ian Wright, Uncle Ray. But it would just be so painful to see him leave. However, he's only just over a year left on his contract. Like, we've got to face the facts here. And at the same time, he's being linked with the likes of Barcelona, Inter Milan, and PSG, all attractive clubs. Like, I know Inter Milan ain't the club that they used to be, but nevertheless, you'd still want to go and live in Milan for 200 grand a week, wouldn't you? There's no saying no to that, is there, Yash?
Going over to Italy, it's like a nice holiday for the next few years. Getting paid to do it too. What can go wrong?
I understand what you mean, man. But we do have a direct quote. Well, it looks like a whole book page from Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang on my screen, but I'm going to try and read it out. It's very small on my screen, so excuse me if I am stumbling over, but this is the quote from Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang himself. Let me get ready. Recently, I have not received an offer to extend, but of course, we have had exchanges with the club for a fair few months now. They know very well why so far nothing has happened. So that is hinting to something has happened behind the scenes, which again, bad news when it comes to Arsenal. They have the keys. It's up to them to do their work. And after that, we'll see how things go. It is a turning point in my career, and I will be very frank with it, everyone. It will certainly be one of the most difficult decisions to make. I still haven't decided, and we will see. It will maybe be the most important decision of my career. All players want to win titles. Everyone is going to ask the question, does he want to win them at Arsenal or somewhere else? But as I said, the future will tell us. As I have said already, he loves to say, as I have said, doesn't he? As I have said already, the club has the keys to this. I am hungry to win titles, and whatever my decision, I intend to fight to win titles. To be clear, nothing has been decided. First of all, Yash, why haven't you clapped me yet for reading all of that out?
See, I was
Where's
just
my
about
clap?
to, but
There we go.
I was too busy thinking, why is man doing this, man? Make the decision.
I know, but do you know what? It just screams Alexis Sanchez, don't it? It is
now when you
screaming
said
Alexis
that, you know
Sanchez.
what? Wow.
Screaming Alexis Sanchez. And as much as I'd love to think that he loves the club, he loves London, when you're saying stuff like that, he's talking about he wants to win trophies. Again, I feel like I'm slating Arsenal so much here, but we're a few years off of a trophy. And Aubameyang doesn't have a few years left on his contract. And let's be honest, he's not getting any younger. He's not got very long to win many more trophies. And if he's going to want to win that, you've got to look at him wanting to go, leaning more towards wanting to go to another club. And if that is the case, and I can't believe I'm going to say this, we're going to have to look at selling him this summer.
Yeah, that's probably going to break a lot of people's hearts, but it's a sad truth, people.
I understand what he means.
Exactly. I think, I don't want to be speculative, but we've heard before about Aubameyang's issues in the dressing room at Dortmund, and we haven't seen that at Arsenal yet, thank God. He looks like a top player, great character in the dressing room too, but I wonder if there's a little bit now of the agent in his ear, starting to tell him, you need to say this in the media, we need to try and work a deal out.
You're getting to that age now. Let's get that
exactly.
MLS
because
Chinese
to
League
be fair
money.
to him as well, he's 31. He's turning 31.
31 soon.
As he said, it's a big move, the most important move. And for a family man like him, he's going to be thinking, right, I've only got probably a couple years left, 3 years max, until I retire. God knows how long he'll play for. But now I've got to think about my family too. I've got to set us up now for the next stage of our lives. And, from that perspective, fair play to yourself. But when he says win trophies, I think it's very clear he knows as well as we know, like you said, we're a few years off. But again, same to him. Do you really want to go to PSG and win an easy trophy by 30 points every season? Do you want to go over to Italy and fight it out with Juventus? How close are Milan going to get?
I understand what you mean, man. But when I say we're a few years off a trophy, I mean a major trophy. I'm talking the
definitely
Champions League. I still maintain that I think we're going to win the FA Cup this season, but I don't think that's going to be enough for him to want to stick around. And that's a sad state of affairs because the FA Cup is such a big trophy, but no one realizes it anymore.
Saying that though, what happened today is Arteta had the first ever video press conference, I think. And I haven't got a direct quote, but along the lines, he said that he's confident that we can agree terms with both parties. And let's play out a circumstance here. Let's say Aubameyang signs. Now, what's been reported as well is that Ainsley Maitland-Niles could be offloaded for a fee of around 20 million to try and fund Aubameyang's new deal. It's been widely reported in the media over the last 24 hours. So let's say he signs. We think back to Liverpool, when they sold Coutinho, they brought in Van Dijk and a couple other players. They brought a new manager in who was at the head of it all and turned it around within a couple of years. We all remember that win they got against City to break their run as well. And from there, they had a great 18 months.
Yeah.
If Arsenal get this Aubameyang deal done, and we've also seen reports that I can't quite work out exactly how it's happened, but £235 million is what we could have for FFP. Now, I want to make clear is that this £235 million budget entirely possible, and it's probably been possible for a few years, but the constant restraining factor is the guy upstairs, Mr. Stan Kroenke, who decides how much of that gets available to us. But this window has been one of the biggest windows where we've got players left, right, and centre. You could cover walls with it, so how many players have been linked with. So let's say Upamecano gets done. Let's say Aubameyang's contract gets done. Let's say we get a new right back in. Could those three players within the next year or two actually make us title contenders? Because it did so for Liverpool. People are saying that Ziyech and Werner are going to make Chelsea title contenders. So are we 2-3 players away from being title contenders? Could we tempt Aubameyang with that?
I wouldn't. If it was up to me personally, I wouldn't say 2-3. I think we've got to look at a good 5-6 players, if I'm being completely honest. And it's hurt. I feel like I should just take the shirt off because I feel like I'm disgracing the club when I say all this. But I don't mean it, Arsenal. I'm just a realist. Now, the thing is, if we do end up getting this £235 million transfer budget, I'd still be upset, but I wouldn't be too disheartened to see Aubameyang go. Because with £235 million, we have more than enough money to sign a replacement. With our current transfer budget and knowing full well, if we were to sell Aubameyang in the summer transfer window, we're not going to get no money. Well, we'll get money, but probably half of his market value. And that's not enough to sign a direct replacement for Aubameyang. If we get that £235 million transfer budget, I know I sound a little bit deluded, but there's nothing stopping us from going to bid for Neymar. You know what I mean? I know it probably won't happen, but you get what I'm saying. We could pretty much buy any left winger in the world that we wanted with that budget. And that's the only thing that would cancel out losing Aubameyang. But it's a massive if, and that's a massive constant of Arsenal Football Club.
Exactly, and it's exactly like you said. It's not just 2-3 players, and that's why I think when Aubameyang especially talks about trophies, then we all know there's a lot more than just a couple signings that need to be done in this club to bring us right back to the top. So those comments from Aubameyang, whether that's the agent talking in his ear or if that's him, if it is him, I think it's time we just get ready, grab a tissue box next to you, and every day just digest the fact that he could be going. But if he stays, then I don't know, pop a celebrations box open or something. I don't know.
The one thing I want to say before we move on to the final topic is Mikel Arteta mentioned that he's confident of Aubameyang signing the new deal. Now, as Arsenal fans, we know what the word confident means. We was used to Arsene Wenger for such a long time. We heard that he was confident about signing Alexis Sanchez down to a new deal. We heard he was confident about keeping Adebayor. These confident statements.
It's not very confident.
It's not very confident to hear Mikel Arteta say confident, but this is not Arsene Wenger. It's a new regime. My question is deep down in your heart, do you think that Aubameyang is signing that deal?
If this was before yesterday, I'd say yes, because he hasn't come out with that statement. Now that I'm hearing this, I'm leaning towards a no. Because we've said it already, we know we're miles off getting those major trophies. So, and with the links as well with Kluivert and all these other players, it's just looking like it's going to be that no.
Yeah, I understand what you mean, man, and I'm going to have to agree with you. Oba, if this is the end, you've been a fantastic servant to the club. You will be missed. Thank you for everything. Muchos gracias. I don't know. I can't speak any other languages. I can't even speak Spanish, but I tried it anyway. Moving
Merci,
on.
Alba. Merci.
Merci, Oba. There you go. Danke. We're popping languages
there
out.
We go. Come on, we're going international with this, Frank.
Man's international, fam.
Let's go.
Nah, listen, we're going to move on to something non-Arsenal related now to end off the podcast. And it's obvious the Premier League is back, as we already mentioned at the beginning of the podcast. And I just want to get into some general Premier League predictions. Now, in terms of the games that we're going to be predicting, we're going to be predicting every single game up until next Monday. Obviously, this podcast is being filmed on a Monday. You guys will be seeing it on the Tuesday afternoon. But this podcast is filmed on a Monday. So we'll be predicting every single game up to Monday night. which is, of course, the game between Manchester City and Burnley. So in total, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 games to predict. So Yash, we'll go through one by one. Aston Villa versus Sheffield United.
So I've put down 2-2 here. I think Villa scrapping for relegation, and Sheffield United not going to have their away fans with them, who have been a good force this season. I see it draw 2-2, couple goals in there.
Okay, fair enough. For some reason, I've written down Aston Villa 3, Sheffield United 1. That's not what I meant to write. I know what I meant to write. Obviously, Sheffield United, I can't believe I'm about to say this, but fighting for European space. Aston Villa have not had a strong season. So I'm going to say Sheffield United 3, Aston Villa 1. Moving on, Norwich versus Southampton.
I said 1-1 to this game. I can just see a couple big players turning up for each side. Southampton had a good, decent run just before lockdown as well. Terrible start to the season, but picked it up. Yeah. Norwich as well started the season well. They're going to need some points too. It's going to cancel each other out.
Yeah, no, I understand what you mean, man. And for me, this is two of the worst performing teams this season. I know, yes, Norwich have showed it because they're bottom of the Premier League. Southampton are not bottom of the Premier League, but they have been they've not had a very good time this season. And because it's Norwich, I'm gonna say Southampton 2, Norwich 1. Norwich, they're going down, man. They're going straight down back to the Championship. Big game now. Tottenham. I can't believe I just said that out loud. I'm gonna bleep that out for swearing. Apologies for the language, guys. Versus Manchester United, one of the biggest games this game week.
3-1 United. No, I'd love that. To celebrate that other team in North London losing, but at the same time, I don't want to be celebrating that team up.
I get what you mean, man.
Them, but yeah, Tottenham. I'm sorry, but they're not gonna. I can't see them winning this game. I can't see them drawing this game. United have been on it recently. How long that's going to last, we don't know. Yeah. But Spurs, true fashion, they're going to bottle it.
As much as I'd like to see that happen, Tottenham, Manchester United and Arsenal are in a very similar situation right now. Yes, Tottenham have got Champions League, so that's not what I'm talking about. I said it before the Tottenham fans could. We're in a situation where all three of us have been absolutely awful this season. Yeah. And nothing has been able to stop it. So obviously we're not in the equation right now. So it's between Tottenham and Manchester United. For me, I think this has got draw written all over it. This has got draw written all over it. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is going to be back at the wheel. He's going to pull something out against an unexpected result, because normally you'd look at this game and you'd think Tottenham are going to win this. For me personally. But Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is going to pull something out of the bag. Tottenham 2, Manchester United 2.
You know what?
Go on.
That could actually be the best result for Arsenal. If you think about where they are in the table as well, a draw is probably the result we need to maintain our fight.
But is that with the fact that if we draw as well, are you talking in the terms that if we win, that could be a good result, or if we draw/lose?
Well, let's say what I think. Well, I said that we'd lose. So let's say we lose. That's 5. We're 5 points off United, level in terms. If they draw, it's 6 points. If we win our next game, it's 3. In fact, if United lose, and we win, it's only a 2-point gap, which would be good for us. But then Tottenham will be breathing right down our necks with us as well. So in that circumstance, I think draw is probably the best result for Arsenal.
Okay, fair enough. Watford versus Leicester.
Game filled with goals, 4-2 to Leicester. Because Ismaila Sarr, he's been on it recently.
Our hero.
But Brendan Rodgers and his Foxes, I think they're going to do it, 4-2.
No, I agree, man. I'm not going to go for the full 4-2, but I'm going to go Leicester 3, Watford 1. Moving on, West Ham versus Wolves, the battle of the W's. But West Ham have not got many of them this season. And for me, I'm going to predict the same. Wolves 2, West Ham 0.
I actually think Wolves not only will Wolves win, but I think West Ham will get a goal. Sneaky goal in there, 3-1 for Wolves. That's what I think.
I know it's not relevant, but I just want to put it in there. The entire of my family are West Ham fans. I got Arsenal from my dad's side of the family. Full stop at the end of this, West Ham are getting relegated. Yeah? They're going down. They're going down. Look, when West Ham have no... The only thing keeping West Ham alive are their fans. The fact that there are now no fans, West Ham have nothing. They have an Olympic stadium they can't even fill.
I wonder what happened to Felipe Anderson. He was doing terrific.
That's been painful to watch. It's been painful to watch Felipe Anderson. But West Ham, See you in the Championship next season. Moving on, Bournemouth versus Crystal Palace. This could be an interesting game, to be fair.
Very interesting. I think it's 1-1 because, well, in fact, Ryan Fraser's on a free. He's going to want to be doing something to up his antics, just before the transfer window. Eddie Howe's a terrific manager, but both clubs a bit unsettled as well. So 1-1.
Okay, fair enough. I actually going to agree with you. I'm going to go Bournemouth 1, Crystal Palace 1 as well. Moving on, Newcastle United versus Sheffield United.
2-1 to Sheffield United. Especially under all this uncertainty with the takeover and that, what's been going on with that.
See, listen, Sheffield are lucky the takeover hasn't happened yet. Obviously, I know that Newcastle wouldn't be able to bring any signings in for the game. But the whole hype around Newcastle, if that takeover was complete, would be different gravy. Newcastle would have wiped the floor with them. But because the takeover hasn't happened and Sheffield have had a fantastic season, I'm going to go Sheffield 3, Newcastle 1. Into another fairly big game now, Aston Villa versus Chelsea.
4-1 Chelsea. That's the way I see it.
With ease. There was no explanation behind it.
But I think it's, you had a little good run in the Premier League. See you. Bye.
Yeah, no, they're going down as well. For me, I think it's going to be Norwich, Aston Villa, and West Ham going down. I predicted Chelsea 3, Aston Villa 0. Now, arguably the biggest game for the rest of the season, the Merseyside derby, Everton versus Liverpool. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, this could be where the Premier League is won. Provided, I think it is. I'm not sure if I'm right on this, but I think if we was to beat City and Liverpool beat Everton, Liverpool win the Premier League at Goodison Park.
Yeah, it's bittersweet for us, isn't it? Because we could beat City, but oh God, if Liverpool win and we're the ones who gave it to them, how daunting would that be for Everton as well?
Do you know what? I'm probably the only one that thinks this, but I would rather see Liverpool win the league than City. Reason being, I don't want to see the Premier League be won by the same people over and over again. So that's the only reason I actually want Liverpool to win the league this year, which clearly they are. But what did you say in terms of a score?
3-1 Liverpool.
Okay, fair enough. I actually said 4-2 Liverpool, and that obviously could be the title deciding
game. Sounds like a cracking game, 4-2.
It does. And it's live. Moving final game on the Monday night, Manchester City versus Burnley.
So I said Man City were going to win 3-1. Burnley is going to, they're going to draw out something. Sean Dyche is going to have his players working harder for that one. If they can get against that back line, as we said, they'll get something out of it.
Okay, fair enough. I completed an absolute mopping of Burnley from Manchester City. Manchester City 4, Burnley 1. But Yash, it's been an eventful podcast. It's been emotional, for sure. I think we've just spent this entire podcast slating Arsenal and how far we are off of a trophy, to be fair. So
it's been like life, hasn't it? It's like a journey through life, optimism, sadness, happy. Everything's in there, man.
But Yash, like always, thank you very much for joining me. Guys, this was the first Cannon Talks podcast on the Cannon Talks official YouTube channel. If you haven't already, make sure to hit subscribe. The journey has begun. Cannon Talks is officially on YouTube now, and it's going to be pretty much daily content, all Arsenal related. Of course, it is an Arsenal fan channel. So make sure to subscribe, turn on post notifications, and follow us through our journey. I have been Frank. I don't know how to... He has been Ash. It's probably going to come that way knowing me now. Thank you guys very much for watching this video. We will see you guys soon. Peace.